now that that's out of the way and I am warping to the Fortizar, we'll start talking about tackle. So there's lots and lots and lots of different forms of tackle. You can put tackle on frigates, you can put tackle on destroyers and cruisers, battleships, you can put them on fucking capitals and supers and titans, you can put tackle on anything. The two main types of tackle that we're going to be going over in this class are light tackle and then slightly heavier tackle. We'll start with light tackle. Usually takes the form of a frigate. Each race has one Tech 1 tackle frigate and one fleet interceptor. They're the ones that I mentioned earlier before we started the class. For Galente, you have the Atron and the Ares. Minmatar is the Slasher and Stiletto. Mar has the Executioner and Malediction, and Caldari has the Condor and Crow. If you guys have the ability to be in one of those ships for this class, that will be very helpful. If you don't, that's fine. Someone earlier said they had a Ram Jag. We'll get to that in a minute when we talk about slightly heavier tackle.
Just to butt in, what distinguishes those ships as tackle is the T1 versions, so the T1 frigates, they all have high base speed, so they're able to move really quick relative to the other T1 counterparts. And the T2 interceptors are also high base speed, but they also have point blank bonuses, so they can scramble and disrupt further than normal ships.
Yep, so I'm bringing up the Malediction as an example. Traits on the Malediction, and if you look here, the Interceptor, so per skill level of the Interceptor skill, you get 15% reduction in Micro Warp Drive signature radius penalty, which is huge. That's a huge bonus to your survivability. It makes you smaller. And then this 5% bonus to Warp Scrambler and Warp Disruptor optimal range means that your Warp Scram and Warp Disruptor are longer range the higher you train the Interceptor skill. The Frigate bonus is only useful for that 4% armor resistance, a nice little survivability bonus, and then the roll bonuses down here are for reduction in the activation cost of propulsion jamming. You can fit an interdiction nullifier module, and there's a bonus then to the nullifier module duration. I tend to not fit interdiction nullifiers on my interceptors, but I know plenty of folks who do, and they're perfectly viable. Any questions so far?
I have a repeat echo of you. I'm watching you on Twitch, but
yeah, you should mute Twitch. Watch Twitch and listen to me on Mumble. Make sense?
I thought Twitch was muted.
Might have a second. You might have a second window. Anyway, moving on to the next part here. So, a light tackle ship's job is to hold enemy ships on grid so that the fleet can shoot them. The job is not to apply DPS. You also have a responsibility of staying alive as long as possible without the FC micromanaging you. You need to learn how to do this on your own as much as possible, because an FC or someone who is helping or guiding you, or et cetera, is not going to have time to tell you exactly what to do with your ship. You're going to have to learn how to make these decisions on your own. Then that's part of what this class is for, is helping you to make decisions. Manually piloting your ship comes in handy a lot. When we talk about manually piloting, what we mean is actually double-clicking in space to select a vector for your ship to go on, instead of using the approach, orbit, or keep it range functions. Just a small caveat there, you will use the orbit function a lot when you're doing tackle. It's kind of the bread and butter, and then from there, being able to, what would you say? It's like using cruise control in your car. Use cruise control a lot, sure, great. For most situations, cruise controls can be fine. But if you need to change lanes or pass somebody, or you see a cop coming up, you need to slow down, you have to know quickly how to change your behavior, manually handle your car, and then switch back to cruise control. Does that analogy make sense to everybody?
Yeah, good to go.
Cool. when learning how to do this, I will advise that you avoid getting into scram or web range of enemy ships. Your ship's main hope of survival when you're flying light tackle is not getting caught. Who knows what cold scram range is in general?
8.
Yep, about 8. 8 or 9, give or take. What is heated scram range in general? Without bonuses.
12.
10 or 11, really. I mean, it might be pushing 12 with Tech 2 scram, but I don't think so. I think it's pushing 11. What about webs? What is cold web range?
10.
And what is heated web range?
Not sure.
13.
13. So how far do you want to be away from an enemy ship at minimum when flying light tackle most of the time?
15.
More than 13, right? You want to be outside of their heated web range. Now, 15 is pretty darn close. If you can manage it, you'll want to be outside of 20. And if you look at Tech 2 Warp Disruptor, it should have a range of 24 kilometers. Is that heated?
It should be cold.
Is that cold?
24 cold, 28 heat.
Yeah, I have it on me. It's 24 cold.
I must need to skill up because my Tech 2 web on my Ramjo says 9.
Your web?
My Tech 2 Warp Scrambler.
Yep. So 9. That should be, and there's no skill to change that. That's 9 cold, and probably heated is like 10.8.
Okay, that's good to know.
Zip, it also depends on the ship.
Hold on. We're getting there. Might actually pull up the warp disruptor. There we go. 24 kilometers. Heated will be about 28. Okay. So being at the edge of your point range, and I guess I should explain that, a warp disruptor is very often called a point. Does anyone know why that is?
It's worth a single point.
Yep. Warp scramble strength is 1. That's 1 point of scramble strength that has come to mean in EVE terminology that is 1 point. You will hear people say point. You'll hear point Ishtar or point whatever. That means that they have activated a warp disruptor on whatever target they're saying. So that's a point. So you want to be as close to the edge of your point range as possible without losing tackle on the ship. Hold down. And we'll get to how tricky that can be a little later in the practical part of this. But let's talk about what Crusher just said. So we talked about the ranges of scrams and webs, which are generally the most dangerous things for you. What can change those ranges?
Your ship can change it based on its bonuses. You have fleet links that you can also get, which will change the range. And in the very near future, there's going to be a booster as well that'll change the range.
Wait, really?
Yeah. They're adding a E-War booster, at least it's in the Hobo leaks.
Oh, Jesus. I hate that. Okay, and the other thing that could change it is faction modules.
And abyssals.
Yep, faction, abyssal rules. So everyone turn on your brains and just remember this. The 13-kilometer overheated web range, is that a hard and fast rule?
Nope.
No.
The 11-ish kilometer overheated scram range, is that a hard and fast rule?
I think it is.
It is not.
80-20 rule. So most of the ships, yes, but there are special situations where it's not. So there's a ship sitting outside right now that will scram you from 30 kilometers away.
The Irazu, yes. So the recons get bonuses to this, the electronic attack frigates get bonuses to this. As we talked about earlier, interceptors get a bonus to the range of their scrams. Their scrams actually go out to 13 plus. Then you have faction ships and pirate ships that also get bonuses to ranges in certain cases. The Algorn gets a web range bonus, the Garmer, the Orthrus, the Argist all get point and scram range bonuses. There's a lot of ships that get bonuses to this this stat. So keep that in mind. Know what you're tackling, and if you don't know what you're tackling, you'll learn very quickly when you explode because you didn't expect to get scrammed at the range that you were at, and then you'll learn. That's the only way to learn, aside from just sitting in a classroom and. Okay. Oh, there's one more thing. So aside from scrams and webs, what's the last sort of very dangerous module for light tackle ships?
The wobble.
Not really. Those are pretty rare.
I mean, newts, but
Newts are a big one. So when you're tackling a battleship, the number one thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to get newted at 30 kilometers, and it's going to drain your cap, the whole thing, all in one cycle. And your micro warp drive is going to shut off. All your tackle is going to shut off. You're not going to be able to run your reps or anything like that. It's going to put you dead in the water very, very quickly. So there you go. Scrams, webs, newts. Be careful of these things. Try not to die to them. The last caveat I'll add here is that sometimes it's necessary for you to sacrifice yourself for the good of the cause. Ideally, if you're sacrificing your ship to hold tackle on something, it is because someone else is just about to get there and establish a more secure hold on the target. If you sacrifice yourself for nothing, then fun.
and it's a super spicy, wonderful target that you want to kill, not just something cheap.
Yep. Don't sacrifice yourself for a stabber. Sacrifice yourself for a carrier. Any questions on light tackle? Okay, moving on to heavy tackle. So heavy tackle can take many forms, and it largely depends on the demands of the fleet composition. A few examples are Tech 3 destroyers, Tech 3 cruisers, command destroyers, cruisers, and assault frigates. There are many, many more options. But heavy tackle, generally, their job is slightly different than light tackles. They often work together in order to be effective. They both exist to keep enemy ships on grid, but light tackle's role as the fastest ship on grid makes it ideal for getting initial tackle on a target and then holding it just long enough for heavy tackle to catch up and get a more secure hold on the target. During this process, it's really common to hear light tackle and heavy tackle pilots talking to each other and communicating how much danger the light tackle is in, how close the heavy tackle is. And it's also common for the light tackle to get caught during this process. Obviously, you should do your best to avoid that. But then once that happens, if they do get caught, generally it will then be the heavy tackle's job to try to help the light tackle extract itself from the situation so it can keep being speedy and fast and go find other things to tackle, while the heavy tackle holds down the first target and helps the fleet kill it. It is a very complicated razor edge kind of dance in some cases. Sometimes it's super easy and not complicated at all. Sometimes it is a nail biter. Not all fleets will have both types of tackle. Sometimes the entire fleet will rely on a single interceptor pilot to secure targets. Sometimes there is no dedicated tackle, and all of our ships have local tackle. The Cruiser Frenzy is an example of this. Yeah, and that's for heavy tackle. Questions? You guys are so talkative today. Hey, Goldie.
I'm holding my questions for later, Zip, because I don't know the agenda.
If I like ask questions, ask questions. I don't do. Who cares about the agenda? Just ask questions.
Great. Zip, what's a drive-by?
Great question. We'll actually do some demonstrations of drive-bys here in a minute. Good question. I got the Heck 8 ready for that.
Okay, maybe a dumber, easier question is: I am the solo scout, and I'm tackling something, and I get drones on me. What do I do?
If you can tank the drones with your ancillary shield booster, or your ancillary armor repair, or if you can outrun the drones just while you're orbiting, there's no problem. Fine. If the drones are fast enough to catch you in your little interceptor, and you can't tank it and you're just going to die, there's no reason to die. The ideal thing for you to do is burn directly away from the ship, string out the drones behind you, take them for a ride is basically what you're doing and what people will refer to it as. Take the drones for a ride, take them as far away from the battle as possible so that if the person using the drones decides to switch targets to something else aside from you, then it takes a long time for those drones to travel back to wherever they want to go. You should do this while aligned to something so that if the drones are chewing on you a bit too much, you can just...
Zip, we talked about when bad things happen, like I drift into scram range or web range or newt range. What do I do other than die terribly?
This is where manual piloting comes in. You should double click away from the ship that's tackling you. It can be tricky to figure out which direction that could be, but you actually have to zoom in, unfortunately, for this part. I recommend most of the time that you play kind of zoomed out, but you will want to zoom in and see exactly where your ship is, exactly where their ship is. You want to burn away from them in most cases. And then take note of two things. One, if you're not dying instantly, maybe they can't track you very well. And that might indicate that it would be a good time to start orbiting them at 500 meters and stay right on top of them. That's if you're not dying instantly. If you're taking a lot of damage and you're already in close, then getting closer probably isn't going to help. If they're keeping up with you, I mean, most things in light tackle are just decided at that point. If they're faster than you, they have you scrammed or webbed, you're just dead, which is why it's important to not let them scram or web you. But if you do have piloting choices in this situation, a no prop mod slingshot is kind of your only option. It's so rare that I don't even think it's worth talking about. What do you think, Crusher?
Eventually you should talk about a slingshot, but I would add there's probably some special behavior that you should perform when you get neuted. So it really depends on the ship. If the ship has a single newt, what's going to happen is the guy's going to turn it on, your cap's going to go to 0, but it's going to start recharging. Really, it depends on two things. If you're trying to stay there and hold the point and wait for your fleet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my orbit and I'm going to start mashing the point button for my warp disruptor, because the warp disruptor only needs like a stupid small amount of cap, and there's a very good chance within a couple seconds I'll have enough cap to actually activate it again. So my activation cost in the interceptor is 4.5 gigajoules, which is stupid small. It's like less than 1% of my cap, I think, maybe.
Yep, that sounds right.
And if I keep mashing the button, I should be able to reestablish a point really, really quick and hold them there. And the next thing I'm going to do is actually trying to like mash my prop mod button. If I'm trying to get away, I'm probably going to double click in space somewhere away from their ship. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to be mashing my like my prop mod, my micro warp drive module, so that as soon as I have enough cap, like I will fly out of there and I will be out of like web range, point range, whatever he's doing to me, and I will glide out and warp away. If you're like really good, you'll pick something that you can align to that is also opposite of the direction that they're traveling. So as soon as you're out of range, you warp the fuck out.
It's also possible that you get neuted and not pointed, and if you have the option to just GTFO at that point, you can just warp anywhere.
Same thing with webs. If somebody's webbing you and they don't have a point on you, just warp out.
Yep. Many people voluntarily die because they think they're pointed when they're actually not. You don't need to be that person. If you're not actually pointed or scrammed, you can just... provided there are no bubbles involved.
Now, if this person's not a dumbass and they have a lot of newts, what they'll do if they're smart, instead of activating them all at once, they'll actually space them out so they know the cycle time on their newts. So they'll hit one, they'll wait a second, they'll hit the next one, they'll wait a second, they'll hit the third one. And basically they will try to constantly keep your cap at 0 so you can't get enough cap to activate your modules.
Yep, all very true. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about just maybe a practical, not practical, scenario where you might want to tackle a ship and not die. tips. Let's just read it. If you go in balls deep, you may die before the horde arrives. That's not fun, so you want to keep your ship alive while your fleet is making its way to you. They'll all land on grid and see your wreck and your fancy ship that you were trying to tackle accelerating into the distance, warping away. Communication here is really important between the scout and the FC. Oh, that's why I wrote this. So it's really good for a scout or just a tackle pilot in general to have a good rapport and good communication with the FC of the fleet or whoever is in charge of the situation. Speaking concisely, not holding down your mic and talking for minutes on end like I am. Making sure that you give the most effective information in the shortest amount of time is super important. And actually, this is where the Intel class comes in. We won't be able to go into it in depth here. There's just not time. But yeah, just keep that in mind. You actually using your mic and speaking, using it wisely is a very important part of tackle. Okay, so let's move on to the practical application part. I am sitting here in a Hecate. It has a scram and 2 webs, and as we talked about, if you get scrammed or webbed in your light tackle ship, you're probably dead. So we're going to practice not dying to my Hecate while tackling me. I'm actually not going to shoot you. I'm just going to scram and web you guys. So if someone wants to volunteer to be first, we can get this show on the road.
Where is it?
I'm way up above you guys. Okay, Miss Donna.
Interesting choice, going at 0.
No, it's okay. So we'll let him. I'll let you basically establish an orbit. Hold on. We don't need you all up here. Gunner and Sienna, warp back down, please. We'll do one at a time. If you guys want to warp to a closer bookmark or maybe at 100, that would be okay. You guys can also just watch this on the stream. Question from Twitch chat, thoughts on ECM drones / modules for surviving. So for the ship, the Prey, the thing that I'm doing right now, ECM is great for surviving, getting tackled, but you don't really have that option in light tackle ships to get ECM or ECM drones.
I would say ECMs are fine as long as you're putting them on heavy or medium tackle. They're usually too slow to keep up with interceptors.
Yep, very true. Okay, Miss Donna, so whenever you're ready, you basically, when you're ready, point me, and that's how I'll know you're ready, and then your job is to not get caught by me. Oh, he's not moving. Not a good plan. It's moving in a second. Yep, there he goes. Okay, so he's going to lose his point because he started burning directly away from me. I'm going to burn away from him and slingshot him and teach him a valuable lesson by getting slingshot.
Did you lose his point or?
Yep,
I'm
I
good.
did.
I lost my point. I can't
Okay.
not tackle him and not get tackled myself.
Yes, he can.
He's probably scram fit, not point fit, because he's in a Hecate, and Hecates use blasters. Oh, you done goofed. Oh,
Yeah.
that was close.
Okay. Time. Alright, I'm going to start heating my prop mod. You're doing pretty well. Obviously, there are certain places here where if I wanted to go, I could, because you're losing the point when you're trying not to get scrammed by me. Good idea to not get scrammed by me. But try to increase the stakes here a little bit. Alright, so I'm just piloting in one direction. And he's going to come around the top of me here. He's orbiting, right? As he does that, I'm going to heat.
I have to set my orbit to 19 to just be at 20 from you right now.
And burn towards him.
Barely catching you and barely. Oh, there I go.
I'm gonna guess you don't have an ionic rig on that thing.
I don't know. It's in Fleet Elmo.
So when you're losing point, are you losing it because you drift out of targeting range, or is it because you're out of point range?
He's balanced. He's like rubber banding me like really well. Like I'm in orbit, so he's coming close to me. My ship's flying away, and then he's bouncing the other way.
The old
So-
slingshot.
So this is called slingshotting. I'm pushing you one direction and then making you need to turn back towards me, and then I'm turning back towards you and trying to get close in that manner. This is called an offensive slingshot. What I'm gonna do right now is a defensive slingshot, and you lose your point.
No,
And I can warp if I want to at that point. So there's offensive and defensive where I'm trying to get closer to you, I'm trying to get further away. So you got to feel what it was like, and you didn't get scrammed or webbed. Nice, we'll try that again in a minute. And move my mic out of the way because I can not see the top of my screen. There we go. Okay, who wants to try next?
Yeah, it looks like Slojo wants to play.
So he's in a heavy tackle ship, and his job is actually to get right on top of me and scram me. So there's no what would you say? There's nothing fancy to do here. There's no manual piloting. There's nothing extra to do aside from, you know, he would scram me, I would scram him back and web him and just try and do as much damage as I could while his fleet tried to get on top of me.
I mean, the important thing with like your scramjag is when you tackle, you don't overshoot and slingshot yourself.
Should be pretty hard to do, but yeah, I guess. Thanks, Lucky. Oh shit, that's a sub. Thanks, dude.
Look like he's moving. Is he? Yes, he is. See if Zip can escape.
Escape? What do you mean? I can't escape a ramjet.
I'll come play with you up there in a minute.
You'll want to be orbiting if you can. Slojo, orbit at like 500.
Yeah, I hit.
Oh, you know what? It's the dual webs. That's what's okay.
We're
yeah,
webbing
there's-
each other, and you're slowing me down.
Yeah, but there's nothing particularly interesting about that we do some manual piloting or something like that.
What's that red thing that you're shooting at?
The newt, right?
Oh, is that new?
Yeah,
It's-
I am webbing him, nuding him, and disrupting him.
It's a NOS is what you're looking.
It's basically the
Famous
ramjag.
by
is literally
followers?
what it's
Oh
called.
my god.
Ram it into things, and you scram.
Guys, I
double
can
web,
become
And
famous.
usually they have ancils on them to keep them alive. Basically, you're just smashing into stuff to slow it down long enough for somebody else to get up there and point them. You're gonna die, but it's like a throwaway worth it to go, I don't know, catch a marauder or something stupid like that.
Not necessarily gonna die. The ramjag is actually super powerful. It doesn't have to die. You can disengage Slojo.
Okay, I'll disengage.
Alright, Zip, you ready to play?
Sure.
Yeah, Tadlow told me I could do this. He said that Ramjag would be a good ship for me to do it.
It fits into the heavy tackle category that we talked about a second really well. It definitely fits that role and is very good at it.
I'll let you go first.
A quick question.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
A heavy tackle for the Caldari, is that a Raptor?
No. So the combat interceptors are not heavy tackle. That's not what that is. They're just like solo PvP.
It'd be a hawk.
Yeah, a Hawk or a Harpy could be a heavy tackle ship.
You said when?
All right, ready?
Yep.
This. So he's heading off that way. I'm off over here.
This way.
You gonna point me ever? Alright, so off that way. He's coming really freaking close. Alright, there we go. So he's stable now. And now
That
all
was
my
very
job
close.
is that was. All my job is
So his objective is to not get pointed right now by you, but he's pointing you.
You lost it, right?
Yeah, I'm fucking around.
how did I get out of range? That was bullshit.
Because I got my tactical on. So that was a drive-by. I'm basically watching where Zip's going.
I'm actually gonna pause right there and just note to the recording and the stream and anyone watching this, I did not turn off my micro warp drive. He swung by very close, activated his scram on me for just a moment, and turned off my micro warp drive. Many pilots, when this happens to them, will not notice that their micro warp drive has been turned off. It's called a drive-by scram. Thank you for demonstrating that, Crusher, and it's super effective as long as you don't get scrammed in the process, because he obviously runs the risk of getting scrammed there.
So when I'm doing that though, I'm watching where Zip's basically piloting. I have my tactical overlay on. I'm watching his vector, and what I'm trying to do is basically do a tangent to him. So if I go into scram range, it's going to be at like 12 kilometers away from him. So if he scrams me, I'm going to be like in and out super quick.
There we go.
There you go. That's what I get for looking at Twitch, huh?
Yep, your fault. Cool. So that's the offensive slingshot. I have him scram double webbed. That malediction would be dead in a matter of seconds if that was a live fire situation there. Let me give me just a second to rep my webs, and then whoever wants to go next can go next. And actually, what I'll say is, Crusher, if you're able to grab a fast cruiser,
There's a note.
There's a note in 9-3, just a 4.
Cool, let's go tackle him. Yeah, I can. I'm serious. I'm warping to GM.
Yep.
Alright, FC, I have a buzzard on scan at the GM gate. It's not there. It's off scan now. Just gonna check next door real quick.
Docking request accepted.
Like I said, wrap up real quick, and then practical practice, I guess.
Yes, for the most part, Zip's been sitting still until we tackle him. It's probably a whole nother ballgame when somebody's moving. So say I warp into a haven and there's an Ishtar orbiting, trying to basically intercept their trajectory and tackle them is a whole nother like skill.
Warp drive active.
Yeah, actually, you brought up having the tactical overlay on. I just take this thing for granted now because I always have it on. Everyone on the stream can see it, but if I turn it off, here's what it looks like. Kind of have you're so blind as to what's going on. So turning this on, having this on just all the time will change your life. So turn on your tactical overlay. It's Control D, it looks like, by default.
So the reason I have the tactical overlay on again is I actually select Zip's ship, and nobody's up there by him right now, but if you select somebody else's ship, you're actually going to get a little blue line, two of them. One shows where they're going now, and one shows basically the direction that their ship is trying to accelerate and move. It's like their vector. And you can watch and see, like, if we're both going parallel and suddenly the line on his ship points opposite of me, like he's trying to slingshot. And I can double click and go backwards and manually pilot and match his vector so I don't overshoot.
You don't even have to be close, by the way. I've selected Mastana, who is 590 kilometers away from me right now, and I can see his vector line here. And it's moving. It'll get shorter if he slows down, like it's doing right now. You can do that with anyone on grid. It'll get longer again as he speeds up. So the length of the line indicates speed. Direction is their current vector. So who wants to try again? Who wants to try next, rather?
I'll give it a run.
Who's that?
This is Kai.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, go ahead and establish an orbit, point me, and get started with me. Catch you. I'm just going to start out by approaching him. He might mistake right off the bat. Knows. Okay, he's not making any dumb mistakes. That's good to know. And let's just pick a direction. So I'll just pick any direction. First of all, he's going to slingshot away from me. He's going to lose his point. That's fine. It's going to force him to want to go, oh no, I lost my point. I need to come back into range. And I'm going to hopefully take advantage of that right here.
Got him.
Yep. So when you lost point,
Yeah.
you turn back into me thinking, oh, I need to reestablish point. I'm using that against you, right? I'm saying, oh, he's going to turn directly back towards me to try and reestablish the point. You didn't actually turn directly towards me. You kind of were at an angle, but I see kind of which angle you're going on. I just set my ship on an intercept and grabbed you there. So when you lose point and you go to reestablish point is a really dangerous moment because you have to close range on the ship that you're trying to tackle. And that's what they want you to do, right?
So would the proper thing to have done is approach on a bigger angle, larger angle to you?
The angle was fine. You're in a very agile ship, so you can turn away again as you see me turning towards you. It's just there's more piloting involved than you're probably used to.
So it's just paying attention and operating in the right way.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. Definitely takes a lot of practice. Who wants to go next?
I've brought a toy zip.
You have. What do you want to do with that?
I don't know. Just mess around.
Okay, so what's special about the Phantasm? Anyone know? Not Crusher?
Good afterburner.
Afterburner.
Yep, the Afterburner is the special thing about the Phantasm. The other stuff is just standard stuff that's about, a bunch of different chips in the game is dangerous because it does damage really well. Whatever. The thing that's special about the Phantasm is the fact that if you scram it, nothing changes. It does not care. It runs with an Afterburner almost all the time. You can just rely on that. The Phantasm, Nightmare, and Frigate version.
Succubus?
Succubus are always going to be Afterburner fit. They run very quickly with their Afterburners. You have to web them to slow them down. There's no way to do it. Well, or nuke them, but web them.
God damn it. Look at him go.
So you scram them, they don't care. They're basically, you can think of them as being immune to scrams. Obviously, it'll still stop them from warping, but care.
You'll
Hey.
never catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
Anyone else want to try and tackle the Hecate?
Yeah, I'll try.
Will the all the Nightmare and all those ships with the afterburner bonus like be less agile because they're fitted with an afterburner, so they're going to be a bit more like it'll take more time to turn around?
I don't think
No.
so. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
It's not really. The time to turn around probably isn't as much, but like the difference in velocity. So I guess I don't know. 0 to 100% is probably the same, but the 100% is a much smaller number, unless people are doing weird shit.
I think we're talking about agility, Crusher.
Sure. So agility is the same, but top speed is different. So in terms of like this Phantasm, if I overheat my afterburner, I'm doing 2 kilometers a second, which is kind of silly.
What just happened to Gunner Guy?
He doesn't
left
play with
him on
sound
land.
on.
LinkedIn fleet.
No, what I meant by that actually, the idea behind the question was that when we were running,
You went
cars
AFK on the gate.
with 100 mm, they were a bitch to turn.
So that's oversized afterburner. The Phantasm and the
gotcha.
Nightmare and the Succubus don't have to run oversized afterburners to go fast.
Gotcha.
Yeah, good point though. So they're like the Phantasm there is running a 10mm standard cruiser size afterburner, which means its agility is not as impacted as you may remember from the 100mm Scimitar.
So the mass edition is the same
Right.
for afterburner and micro warp.
Yes, it is. Do you have a point on that thing, Kimball?
Yeah, point and scram.
Okay, let's try it. You're ready. Okay, so let's do the same. I expect this to be. I might have to switch out of propulsion mode to make this interesting. Might just be faster than. Nope,
Ooh,
not
I've got
faster
another
than. Okay.
idea here in a minute, Zip.
Okay, so I'll just burn away. Okay, Kimball's not your average bear. Lost his point, but that's okay. Wasn't necessarily aligned to anything. We'll try to get him off here. Oh, well done.
So
Guys,
he lost point and
Kim-
he was able to get it back.
Kimball knows what he's doing, guys.
Dropped.
Yep, so I'm going to try the same slingshot maneuver we tried just a moment ago. He has to close range to point me again. Could warp right now if I wanted. Wait for him to get a little closer. Swing around and grab him. Okay, here we go. Got him. and then he nukes me. Nice. That was pretty good.
All right, give me 60 seconds, and I have a new scenario for you.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, I'm very curious what this is.
And you get to try to tackle me.
Ooh. Okay. Should I grab my interceptor?
No, you can stay in the Hecate. That'll probably make it more fun.
Should grab the interceptor.
No, stay in the Hecate. It will illustrate this better.
Okay.
Sounds like you had the right counter there, Zip.
Nah.
I mean, interceptor is just a great ship in general, but yeah.
I mean, aren't all ship great in their own aspect?
If you guys want to be the center of attention, you want to be the hero, you want to be like the guy who saves everything and does the awesome thing. You know, becoming an FC is great. Don't get me wrong, but learn to fly tackle. Learn to get really good at tackle. Learn to use your interceptor like a scalpel. The most exciting person in the fleet, at least in my opinion.
I would say a good scout makes an FC look good.
It's so true. There's so many fleets I'm on where I'm FCing and I have to do nothing. I don't have to do shit. And my scout is just out there in front making me look amazing, making me look like. As long as they know what they're doing, I look like a. What's going on, Crusher? What are we doing? Oh, okay, okay.
You understand?
Yeah, just can you not pop it though? Maybe.
I'm ungrouping everything except for one.
Okay, good. All right, I'm gonna come in at 100. And don't shoot me yet, so I can explain to folks what's happening, and then we'll start. Okay, so this is an Oracle that Crusher's got out here. It's medium-ish speed, very high damage to targets that are not moving or don't have transversal. So what we're going to be talking about here is spiraling. I'm really hesitant to, I'm going to put myself in defense mode. And I'm going to approach you. Can you just stop moving for a second?
Okay.
You know when you're not moving?
Handbraking. Give me a sec.
And you guys are going to see that even though I'm in a small ship with a small SIG, the fact that I'm approaching him, approach with the prop mod on, and he's going to shoot me and it's going to land perfectly. There's going to be no problems.
No, you got to be at 80.
Okay, I'll burn it.
So you got, give it a cycle or two.
Yeah, so while this is happening, I can. So basically, there is no transversal velocity for his guns to have to track. They can just point in one direction and shoot. They don't have to swing around on their swivels and do all that fun stuff. So after we demonstrate this, even though I'm in a small ship, and we'll see how much damage I take, I'm actually very nervous. I don't want to die.
I'm also pulse fit, so
okay, we should be
I'm
okay.
Not super long range, but in a second here, Zip's gonna get into my range, and I'm gonna reach out and touch him. I'll even shoot you outside of my. I'll shoot you outside of my optimal.
Yeah, use multi-freak outside of. Oh, you even missed. Wow.
Yep.
Oh, it's polarized.
Shh.
Oh shit. Okay, there we go. Cool. So, was it multi-freak and I was out of range? That's why.
Yeah, it was Scorch.
Okay, so I'm going to warp back down to the fort and then back up to him at 100, and we're going to demonstrate some spiraling here. Spiraling is essentially the act of getting closer to another ship, but not at a 90-degree angle. What would you call it? Not at a 0 or 180-degree angle, I guess.
Basically, the idea is you want to keep your transversal. So basically, the angle that you're approaching the ship at. If you're going directly at them, your transversal is 0. If you're moving left, perfectly left to right, your transversal is going to be high. And it also depends on your range. So if you're really close and you're moving opposite of them, your transversal is very high. If you're really far away and you're moving left to right, your transversal is probably a lot lower.
So if you're looking on the stream, you can see the angle I've selected is, again, it's towards the Oracle. I'm closing range on it, but I'm not moving directly towards him. And if he tried to shoot me once I get in range, he shouldn't be able to hit me.
So Zip, could you not just orbit him?
I could, but if I select orbit at like 20k, my ship's going to start burning directly towards him first before establishing the orbit. That's not what I want.
I see what you're saying.
So this is what I'm doing here. I'm spiraling. So that was the second vector. I'm about to pick a third.
And right now I'm shooting and I can't hit him. He's definitely in. Oh, there, I got one.
So a little bit too flat of an angle there, but it should get better in a second. And this would be fine for most situations, taking this kind of damage. You're tracking really well at that range, though.
Right? Hey, Zip, you're really close. You should probably point me. Oh, wait. See
There's
ya.
the MJD. Yep. So that's the essentially the concept of spiraling there. I'm taking much less damage than I would if I was just approaching him. Just approaching a high damage target like that is generally not a fun idea.
So another key point is while you're trying to spiral, you want to keep your speed up. You don't want to like zigzag where you slow down to 0, because when you slow down, your transversal also goes to 0. So the idea is to keep things nice and smooth, angle around.
Like a spiral. Just literally draw a spiral on a piece of paper, and you'll see the kind of path you should take towards if you're trying to tackle.
Okay, other 201 shit for tackling. I was just aggressing Zip. I warped my structure. And guess what? For 60 seconds, I cannot tether and or
get him.
And or dock. If you're ever in a site and you try to tackle somebody and you lose point, and they put drones on you or they aggress you, and you watch them warp away, like go to the structure, warp right to it, put him on the structure. The other caveat to that is if you ever see somebody with links up, if they're giving boosts to their fleet, including orcas and porpoises and stuff like that, if they freak out and they warp directly to a structure, warp right there with them and point them.
And you usually find most people forget they've even got boost still on.
Yeah, and they'll sit outside, they can't dock, and their boosts will go off again.
Yep, and actually let's test this, or not test this, but demonstrate this. Crusher, can you point the structure, or actually don't shoot the structure?
Give me a second, I'll boost.
You have boosts on that thing?
No. I'm swapping.
Oh, I see. Okay. So something for Stargates and stations, like regular NPC stations, if you're not aggressed and someone points you or scrams you, you can just dock or jump as long as you're in range. But for citadels, if you're not tethered and you get pointed or scrammed, you cannot dock.
If you get targeted because you get, you're running a boost, once your, I guess, timer that you generated with your boost goes off, will you tether again, or because you got aggressed and targeted, you get a new timer?
Every time a new boost cycle goes off, you get aggressed for 60 seconds.
Right, but if I turn it off.
Once that 60 seconds is up, your weapons timer will be down. The boost cycle is usually faster than 60 seconds.
Okay.
So right
So yeah,
now,
mine's-
Pressure's Hurricane is scrammed. He's totally within docking range of the structure. And in a moment, he'll let us know when his aggression is down. He'll try and dock, and he won't be able to. Hey, no fair.
And it's both scram and point that does that.
Yep.
So
Both.
my aggression's down and I can't dock.
How is your aggression down? You just had
I was
ECMs on
playing
me.
along Zip, damn it.
Anyway, you guys get the idea. Any other questions? Wrapping this up here.
When your aggression's down, even though your point scram or whatever, will you get tethered back, or no?
Yep. So you can watch it on the stream actually in 45 seconds, as long as no one points me, please. My ship will tether.
But if you're actively tethered, actively being targeted, like you're being shot at, you're targeted, you're scram web, whatever.
Yeah, you guys can all target me. You could activate anything except for a point or a scram on me. I would tether. It's done.
I don't think you can. You
Put
can't
the-
tether
put the-
when you're targeted.
Target me. Everyone target me. Target me. Target me. Target me. Is it? Put your drones on me too, Crusher. Quickly.
There you go. I'll do that instead.
Okay, yep, that works. And we will see in just a moment. No one should be pointing me. Tether here.
You won't.
Ta-da!
What?
But if you were pointed, would you still have tethered or no?
Nope. Again, the point and the scram prevent tether.
Gotcha. That's just what I wanted to confirm.
So this is actually really fun. You see in some fights, like, I don't know, people drop caps on an Athena or whatever, and they think they're safe because they're on their thing, and they'll launch fighters if they'll aggress. You can roll up on them and like put a point on them with a T1 frigate and prevent them from docking, and you can kill them right in front of their eyes on their station.
Yep. T1 frigate can ensure the death of a capital ship in that way, which is fun.
Zip, so earlier I was in my Oracle and I hit the MJD button and I jumped away. You want to talk about the difference there and what that means for tackle? And
Yeah, so if you're tackling a battleship, a battlecruiser, or a industrial,
I don't know about that, but the
not the blockade runner, deep space transport,
command destroyers also can.
yep, or a command destroyer, they all can fit modules that are either micro jump drives or micro jump field generators. You'll want to watch for that effect. If they activate the module, I'm pretty sure all you need to do is a drive-by scram at any point during the cycle and it will cancel it. And then they have a big long cooldown that they have to before they try it again.
So the important thing there is, though, a point will not stop them from MJDing. A bubble won't stop them. The only thing that's going to stop them is a scram.
Scram, and that's it. More questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Like, when I'm in the fleet, like the other day we were fighting up in XQ, I think, and that's when I lost my ramjack. But I had something scrammed and was holding it. Do I want to talk to the FC and tell him I've got something caught, or do I need? How's he going to know that I have something scrammed like this thing? A capsule came out and I caught it. Then I went in. I let it go because nobody came to shoot it. I went in and got killed, but I just need to know if I capture a straggler, should I tell the FC?
It's situational. It depends on the situation. We talked about right at the beginning, though, what you'll hear when people have things tackled, and it's only 2 words. Point, and then the name of the ship, or not the name, the type of ship that you have pointed. So, point on the Brutix, point Myrmidon, point Hurricane, point Stabber, whatever it is. Those 2 words, or you could say scram, and whatever it is, even if you have a point but you have a scram. Or scram web, and whatever it is. It's a very small amount of words needed to communicate that information. If the FC doesn't know where you are, you need to add more information. Scram, Brutix, GM Gate 9-3. That lets the FC know exactly the information that they need to know.
Right, and then let them make the decision on what's going on.
Yep.
So the other thing I'll add from FC's perspective, there are a couple points where or a couple times when I want you to tell me that you have a point. So if, I don't know, the hostile fleet's running and I tell everybody spread points, basically that means to everybody who has any sort of capability, whether it's a point, a scram, a bubble, whatever, like I want you to grab whatever you can that's on the grid and hold them there. If that happens, like I want you to call point whatever, so I know who's all tackling what. I can tell somebody else like, oh, go tackle this instead, and I can prioritize what we're going to primary.
Yep. So Joe, if you and I both said point Brutix and there's only 1 Brutix on the field, I can say to you, hold it, I'll go get something else, and then Pressure can clean up all the things that we can tackle instead of, duplicating our efforts on it for no reason.
The other time that it's probably situational is when we're in a fight and there are 2 scenarios I can think of. It's small gang and we need to communicate a lot, and the plan changes based on if we have a point on something or a scram on something. So if they're spread out, we tackle something in the back of their fleet as they're trying to kite off. Like, I want to know that. Or if we're in a big fleet fight and, like, I don't know, the hostile fleet's like burning away from us and you happen to scram something in the back and we're holding it back, like that's probably another point where I want to know, like, hey, we got somebody in the back, we got an easy target.
Okay, that's the way I'm going to play it.
A lot of information there. Hope you can extract some useful things out of there.
Well, it's getting better. This,
thanks, Palby, for the follow.
Our nullsec is a different than highsec where I started.
No kidding.
And honestly, like, scouting and being a good scout takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. So I don't know, I've been doing this for 10 years and I still learn new stuff and I mess up and I learn stuff every day.
I always end these classes by saying there's no substitute for experience. I can talk to you guys all day, we can even do practical applications, but at the end of the day you gotta get out there and give it a shot in a real live fire situation or you're never going to learn it. Any last questions? Fantastic. Thank you all for attending. Hope you learned something. Hope you had fun. I will go talk to Joey about what nonsense he wants me to do tonight. Thanks, guys.
Zip, when's 301 when we talked about Hictors and Dictors and strategy?
You can write it.
Damn it.
All right.
Thanks, Zip.
Yep, go ahead and hop back down to Southern Comfort, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Cool.
the class, Zip.
Stream, thanks for tuning in.
Bye, Twitch.
Hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys learned something. Call the stream for the night. Quick stream, easy stream. Later, guys.